Hey, 7th grade. It is a lazy Sunday here at the Burnett house. I hope all of you are enjoying a lazy Sunday, or I don't know, maybe you've had 4 weeks of lazy, 3 weeks of lazy, whatever it is that we're going into. I just wanted to get on and talk to you about poetic devices. So your day 1 assignment is to look at the document that is posted with this video called Poetic Devices. And I'm just going to go through it. I'm not going to read it word for word with you because y'all are smart kids and you can do things by yourselves. But I want to go over a couple things. Some things we've talked about in class already. Some things we haven't. But I just wanted to chat about it. So, okay. So if you open that document and follow along, the first one is alliteration. And we talked about this when we were doing Romeo and Juliet. And we talked about how that's the repetition of consonant sounds. That's all of the letters that are not vowels. They're consonants. And I gave you an example of that. And it's a Shel Silverstein poem called Standing is Stupid. And I just love Shel Silverstein. His stuff is great. But the poem says, standing is stupid, crawling's a curse. Skipping is silly, walking is worse. Hopping is hopeless, jumping's a chore. Sitting is senseless, learning's a bore. Running's ridiculous, jogging's insane. I guess I'll go upstairs and lie down again. Isn't that so funny? It's a funny poem, but you have that repetition of initial consonant sounds. We talked about this when we did Romeo and Juliet in ways that those repetitive sounds can speed a poem up or it can slow it down depending on what the writer wants to do. So that is alliteration. The next one that we have, sorry, I've got my document going over here. Onomatopoeia, a word that when spoken sounds the same as its action. And you guys know that. We've talked about that before, and I left a sweet poem in there for you. You can read that one on your own. Rhyme is the repetition of similar sounds, and rhyme is when words rhyme at the end of a line and their ending sounds are the same. You guys know that one too. The next one that's on there is internal rhyme. So internal rhyme is when words within the line rhyme. So the example that is in the definition said, in mist or cloud, on mast or shroud. So cloud and shroud rhyme. And I have in there another Shel Silverstein example for you because I love him so much, called hitting. So it says, use a log to hit a hog, use a twig to hit a pig, use a rake to hit a snake, use a swatter to hit an otter, use a he to skid a bee. I messed that up. Use a ski to hit a bee, and use a feather when you hit me. So all of those inside, log, hog, rhyme, but it's one line of poetry. So that's internal rhyme because it rhymes within itself. I'm struggling today. Imagery. We've talked about that a lot before. That's just descriptive words that paint a picture or help you see what the writer is talking about. So that appeals to the senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. And the example there is from William Wordsworth called I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. And he says, this is just part of his poem, but it says, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high or vales or hills. That's valleys and hills. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So you can kind of see this cloud just floating by and the daffodils and the lake, and that's imagery. Anything that paints a picture in your mind, descriptive language. Simile and metaphor, we've talked about those. Simile uses like or as, metaphor does not. Our classic example is the cloud is like a cotton ball, or the cloud is as fluffy as a cotton ball, I guess would be better. Would be a simile, or the cloud is a fluffy cotton ball would be a metaphor. Symbolism is anything that represents something else with a deeper meaning. So for example, they have on here a rainbow symbolizes hope, right? The rainbow that God sent to Noah was his promise that he would never flood the earth again. Things like that. The American flag is a freedom symbol, those kinds of things. Personification is when an inanimate object is given life or human qualities, and we've talked about that one too. When we say the wind whispered through the trees, the wind's not literally whispering, it's just blowing, and you can hear that sound. The flowers stood in the field. They're not literally standing like on 2 feet like people do. That's personification. Oxymoron, which are your favorites because you always tell me you never understand them. But that's 2 contradictory terms coming together, like jumbo shrimp. So jumbo is big, shrimp is a little, but it's also a small little animal that goes in the bottom of the ocean. And when you get a big one, it's called a jumbo shrimp, right? So it's 2 opposite things that come together. The other example is pretty ugly. Like pretty also means, rather or a lot. So if someone is pretty ugly, it's 2 contradictory terms coming together. That one makes me laugh. And then the next one is hyperbole. You guys like to tell me it's called hyperbole. But that's language that's exaggerated. So there's another sample poem in here called Appetite. And it says, in a house the size of a postage stamp lived a man as big as a barge. His mouth could drink the entire river. You could say it was rather large. For dinner he would eat 1 trillion beans and a silo full of grain, washed it down with a tanker of milk as if he were a drain. So the house is not literally a postage stamp. That's just telling us that it was a really small house. The man's not literally a barge. He was just very big, right? So those are hyperbole, they're exaggerations. But they help you kind of see a picture of, like, he was a big man who ate a lot of beans and grain and milk, and probably really quickly because he washed it down as if he were a drain. Mood helps to create the atmosphere, like the emotions that you feel in a poem. Repetition is when something is just repeated over and over, and the theme is the main idea or message conveyed by a piece. So we're going to talk more about these a little bit as we go. They'll come back before we end the year too, and we've talked about them repeatedly before, but I want you to take 3 of them and give me an example of what they are. So label it. So write simile, and then say the cloud was as fluffy as a cotton ball. Don't use that one though, because that's my example. You can't steal it. But you're going to put those in a Google Doc and post them in the Poetry Devices assignment. Okay? I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you sometime.